In the previous exercise, we looked at how we could compute a weighted average for one candidate to find an overall score that will enable us to compare that candidate to someone else. Now let's look at how we can do this if we have two or more candidates. So we're going to get the Excel spreadsheet we were using, and we've got the six scores that we have for each candidate and the weights, and we're going to have the different candidates in the different columns. Now we've only got two columns here, but we could put a candidate 3 or candidate 4 or candidate 5. We'd have 30 candidates, and we would do the exact same thing. So let me bring Excel over here. And we have the two sets of scores, and we can see that, so candidate 2 did better in work experience, but candidate 1 did better in education. Candidate 1 did better in the first interview. Candidate 2 did better in the second interview. And they both did pretty good on the cognitive ability test. Candidate 1 did a little bit better and a little bit better on the integrity test, but these two tests count less, only 10%, compared to the others that count 70 or 20% each. So we can't really tell without doing the calculations who objectively is going to be the best candidate. We need to have an objective measure, because if there's not an objective measure, it's a lot easier for the company to get sued and say that, oh, they discriminated against me because they didn't choose me. But if we have objective measures for making decisions, we've got evidence that we were trying to make the best choice possible. So let's go and calculate the score for candidate 1. And I'm going to do it so that if I drag the handle here, we'll also calculate the score for candidate 2. So I'm going to use the command equals sum product. And now we want the weighted column. Now notice how the weight is always going to be in column B, lines 19 through 24, no matter for what candidate. Those don't change. So I'm going to use dollar signs there. So I'm going to do $B, $19 as the beginning of the weights. And I'm going to go to $B, $24 as our first array. Now for the second array, I'm going to do it for candidate 1. And we want that to move when we calculate it for somebody else. So I'm not going to use the dollar sign. So I'm going to do C19 to C24. So close parentheses. And that's the numerator. Now the denominator is the total weight. So I'm going to do divide by. And here the weight is in B26. And it's always going to be in B26. So I'm going to put $B, $26 so that it doesn't move. I press enter, and we get 81. Now, I could type something like that for candidate 2, but I don't need to. I can just drag this over, and we get 81.5. This new formula up here, it says B19 to B24, so it's the same weights. And then we use the data in D19 to D24. We use column D here, whereas we used column C for candidate 1. And then for the numerator, we have it again in B26. That doesn't change. So we could have 30 candidates, and we just have to drag it all the way over, and we can tell right away that candidate 2 is our superior candidate based on this objective evaluation of the different scores that these two candidates received.